You go fishing every week. Enough. You catch girls instead of fish? You've got to be kidding me. I'm talking too fast, and my husband on the phone is just getting anxious. Of course, I'm not going to forgive him. That's how much damage this man has done. I don't want to see your face again. I hope you regret it soon enough. My name is Lisa. I'm a 35-year-old housewife. My only daughter, Ava, graduated from college a while ago and started working in the spring. At the same time, she started living alone, but she seemed to be having a hard time balancing work and housework, which she is not used to. Whenever a weekend comes around, she calls for help. Help me, Mom! I can't clean my room at all. I feel sorry for her, but I'm still tired of myself for not being able to let go of my child. But I am so happy that she relies on me that I end up spoiling her. It seems my husband is the same way. Are you going to Ava's again? You'd better watch out for any sign of a man. What are things to say? Brian, my husband, and I were classmates in college. And we started dating at a class reunion. We got married after 3 years of dating. A few years later, we had Ava. And I worked part-time for a little while, but I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past few years. I was able to concentrate on raising her child, and Ava has grown up to be a good, honest child. Of course, I am grateful to my husband for creating this environment. I had no idea that he had betrayed me. Well, I'm off then. On his day off from work, my husband went fishing without a care in the world. He got hooked on fishing when his boss invited him to go fishing. He has all kinds of equipment and goes fishing every time he has a day off these days. I was a little happy that we would be able to spend more time together as a couple, now that we had finally finished raising Ava. In reality, however, that was not the case. Although we did not have any conversation, I was feeling a little inadequate. My daughter ever said to me with a disappointed look on her face, "Dad is an idiot, leaving you alone." "No, honey, I am grateful to your father." I said that because I knew she wouldn't want to see her parents not getting along. I had no choice but to put some words together. Besides, I felt that married couples in the world are like us. My husband is the only son, and we built our current house near in-laws' house to take care of them in the future. Some of our friends said it was unbelievable, but it didn't bother me. The reason for that was my in-law. "Is Lisa home? I made too many sweets, so I brought some to share with you." My energetic mother-in-law shouted at the front door. Ever since I got married, my mother-in-law, my husband's mother, has helped me a lot. Whenever we fight, she always took my side. When I had a hard time raising my Ava, she was always there for me. My father-in-law is the opposite of my mother-in-law, who has a calm and easygoing personality and speaks with a gruff voice. "Lisa, here are the sweets you told me you liked. I bought them. Let's eat them together." Sometimes he would visit us without his wife. My father-in-law is already retired. Recently, I have been enjoying having tea with my parents-in-law at their house. However, my husband doesn't seem to pay much attention to his own parents. When I talk about my parents-in-law, he just goes from one ear to the other. Still, he seems to be grateful to me. "Thank you for being good friends with my parents." I was happy to hear him say that from time to time. However, my mother-in-law seems to want my husband to be a little more involved in this circle. Why don't we invite Ava too, and we can all go on a trip together once in a while? I thought it was cute for her to say so with a bit of mousy look on her face. My mother-in-law said that my husband was selfish. She says he's always had a weak temper, but he's always been stubborn. But just like my husband and I, she always seemed to love her child. It made me chuckle to think that no matter what generation you are from, things never change. Going for a trip. It's true. The last time we took a trip was when Ava was in middle school. Hey, how about a trip with your parents once in a while? I asked my husband about it at dinner. What? I can't. I'm too busy with work. Besides, I'm going to go to a fishing spot a little further away on my next vacation with my boss. With a sigh, he sweeps me off my feet. But I try to tell him, but in the end, have fun without me. And he tapped me on the shoulder and left. I didn't mean it that way. So I told my in-laws about it. Oh no, he is a total workaholic. Even if Lisa gives up on him, I will never take his side. Mother-in-law was laughing, but when I looked at her face, I could see she was still in shock and looked a little sad. These days, my husband is always working, just like my mother-in-law says. He used to participate in community service work without fail. For the past few years, I've been participating alone. Thanks to the proximity of my parents-in-law's house, I'm getting along well with my parents-in-law. I'm also gotten to know my neighbors very well. Many of them are elderly, so they love me like a daughter. Although my parents' home is far away from here, I am very thankful that I am able to live peacefully in a strange land. It was during these days that my daughter Ava called me out of the blue. Mom, look at this. Daddy is cheating on you. Ava, with an angry face, showed me a picture. It seems to have been uploaded on a social networking site. Ava's friend seems to be addicted to fishing these days. As I was looking at it, I found a small photo of my husband and a strange woman in the back of the picture. It was so small that I could barely make it out by zooming in. Maybe my daughter is suited to be a detective or something, I thought to myself. I looked at that enlarged photo and I breathed a sigh of relief. No, Ava. The woman here next to your dad is his boss. We've seen her at company events and other occasions, but for the past few years, only Brian and I have been able to attend. No wonder Ava doesn't remember her face. I'm sure, somewhere in my heart, I too had a slight suspicion that my husband was cheating on me. I remember feeling relieved from the bottom of my heart. Oh no! I thought it wrong. I pet my daughter's head, who looked a little embarrassed. I hugged her and said, "Thank you for worrying about me." No wonder Dad is so popular. He's got a big belly these days. My daughter giggles. My husband and my daughter has been talking less and less as she got older. But through me, they talk about how things were going with each other. He said something about me, how's Ava doing, and such. I was smiling at how much they were alike. Come to think of it, I haven't touched that social networking site recently. When I first joined, I used to enjoy posting pictures, but for the past few years, I've been completely neglecting it. When I opened the site for the first time in a while, I found it in a ridiculous state. What the hell is this? I immediately talked to my daughter about it. After that, my husband's attitude has not changed in any way, while I spent my days in a state of uncertainty. Maybe he is worrying about my attitude, or is there something he's doing behind my back? Lisa, you haven't been well lately, my husband said with a worried look on his face. Nothing. But sometimes your parents seem lonely, so you should go out with them, I replied with a smile. Right. Okay. I'm going to visit my parents on my next day off, he said in a noisy voice. It doesn't even have to be a vacation. It's so close. You should go now. That's what I thought. My husband spent his next holiday as he declared, doing all sorts of things he could do for his parents-in-law. The next day, my parents-in-law came to tell me about the day with a smiling face. They looked so happy. We went fishing together, but the fish Brian caught was bigger. I was so disappointed. My father-in-law smiled happily. On the way home from fishing, they had tea together at in-law's house. It was the first time in a long time that the family had a chance to get together. My parents-in-law seemed so happy about it. I had no idea at that time that something terrible would happen a few days later. That day, my husband left home early in the morning as usual. I asked him where he was going. He said, I'm going fishing with my dad, and that he had a good time with me the other day. I'm glad that he was happy. Well, I'm off then. He was strangely excited to go fishing with his father. I gave him a cold look. I had plans to go shopping with my daughter that day, so I went to the meeting place. It was a very hot day, with a maximum temperature of 96.8 Fahrenheit. While Eva and I were cooling off in a cafe, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law's name on the screen, and I thought to invite her here, so we'll have a tea party. Lisa, come quickly. My husband collapsed. Hearing my mother-in-law was panicking, I was very upset. Eva, who was standing next to me, also looked worried about what was going on. I took a deep breath and listened to my mother-in-law's story. And it seemed that my father-in-law had been rushed to the emergency room with a heat stroke. A fisherman found him lying alone in a fishing spot. And the neighbor who happened to be at the fishing spot and knew my father-in-law contacted my mother-in-law. That's when a question came to my mind. So I called Brian, thinking he should be at the fishing spot. But I couldn't reach him at all. But he said he was going fishing with his father today. I had never heard such an anxious voice from my mother-in-law, who was always smiling and cheerful. So I started to tear up as well. Eva is with me now. We will be right there soon. He's gonna be okay. I hung up the phone and rushed to the hospital with my daughter. I called my husband on the way to the hospital, but he didn't respond. What are you doing at a time like this? I'll never forgive you, I thought to myself. When we arrived at the hospital, it seemed that the treatment was over and my father-in-law had already been moved to a hospital room. When I entered the room, I found my father-in-law asleep with an IV connected. My mother-in-law was sitting hopelessly beside him. According to my mother-in-law's explanation, my father-in-law's body temperature was 104 when he was brought to the hospital. I looked at them with tears in my eyes. My husband finally called me on my phone. Hello? My husband sounded very upset, as if he sensed something in my low voice. Oh, Lisa? I lost my father. Do you know what happened? He said such a silly thing. I guess my husband thought something was wrong, that I didn't say anything. We split up as soon as we got to the fishing grounds. That's a beginner, you know. So, I went a little further out to an advanced fishing spot. When I came back, he was gone. He left on his own. That's terrible, don't you think? He laughed. Your father is in the hospital right now, and it's your fault. What? I told him quietly. I got angry at him for saying nothing but what? You go fishing like a fool every week. Enough. You catch girls instead of fish? You've got to be kidding me. That's what I yelled and hung up the phone. When I returned to the hospital room, I found my father-in-law awake. He had recovered enough to have conversation with me. We were all relieved when the doctor told us that he would be in the hospital for a while, but he would be fine. According to my father-in-law, when they arrived at the fishing spot, my husband immediately told him to look after his belongings and disappeared. When Brian didn't come back for a while, father-in-law went back to the car and the car was there. So, my father-in-law waited at the fishing spot. He said he started to feel sick, and the next thing he knew, he was in the hospital bed. I was really angry because that's not at all what my husband told me. When I got home from the hospital, the lights were on in the house, which meant my husband was home. When I entered the room with my mother-in-law and my daughter, we were surprised to find our eyes rolled back in our head, because there were my husband and a woman we didn't recognize. Hey guys, my husband awkwardly spoke to us, but of course I ignored him. May I ask who you are? I said to the woman. I'm sorry. It's taken me so long to greet you, but my name is Vanessa, and I am your husband's subordinate. Your husband is a really good boss to me. He told me how to fish again today, and I never expected. My husband looked at the woman, who bowed deeply to me with a sense of apprehension. Are you crazy? And this woman thinks I am an idiot. I don't know what my husband does for you as a boss, but please, leave. My daughter Ava seems to have reached her limit when she saw the woman's miffed face at my words. Leave already. It's obvious that you guys were having an affair. I have been monitoring Mom's social networking site. You nasty creep. Ava was right. I opened my social networking site for the first time in a long time and found it filled with likes from a woman I didn't know. And it was all done only on photos that showed my husband Brian. It was this Vanessa girl who liked the photo every time. I knew it because of her icon. I've been made a fool of. At Ava's words, Vanessa started giggling. Ma'am, that's why I want you to leave Brian as soon as possible. I almost grabbed her when she said that. But as I held down the thoughts, I realized that this woman was not worth it. My mother-in-law brought a knife from the kitchen and yelled, "Get out of here! Both of you! This is a nightmare!" And while Vanessa said so, my husband was yelling at us saying, "What the hell? What's the big deal? It was just an affair. Besides, you, Lisa, who do you think you owe your life to?" My husband with a smug look on his face, and the cheating partner who was giving me an evil look on her face. I can no longer be bothered to deal with them. It must be thanks to me. I do the shopping, I do the cooking. It's all thanks to me that we get to eat every day. My husband might think I would cry in frustration, so he couldn't say anything. "Well, anyway, I'm divorcing you. A woman like you who's never worked a day. You should know the harshness of the real world." He said this with a look of triumph on his face. So, I divorced my husband and went to live with my daughter for a while. Apparently, my ex-husband had been having an affair for several years. I guess Vanessa got annoyed with my ex-husband who never got divorced. So she started messing with me through my social networking site. She's happy to be married to Brian, and she's happy to pay the alimony. It seems like fishing was always Vanessa's hobby. The day my father-in-law collapsed, they met up there, and fishing together in a secluded spot where not many people were around. So much so that you didn't even notice the ambulance sirens went off. Were you too stupid? I couldn't help but wonder. This wasn't the only thing I thought was disgusting. My ex-husband's boss was also having an affair with one of his subordinates, and they used to fishing as an excuse to have weekly secret meetings. I felt nauseous when I found out that sometimes they went straight to a hotel. The picture my daughter showed me at the beginning was the scene of a secret meeting. It was so easy for them not to know who was watching them at any time. I had my revenge on my ex-husband, who had the look of triumph on his face. "Look, Mom, that woman is seriously in trouble." My daughter showed me a picture. It was a picture of Vanessa's secret social networking account. Of course, there were pictures of my ex-husband and his ex-boss and their affair partners, including Vanessa. And in the pictures, they are holding hands in the hotel room. It was a treasure trove. You should know the harshness of the real world. What a saying. I later anonymously sent the photo to my ex-husband's company. Of course, upper management was furious, and my ex-husband and his boss got demoted. I don't know how humiliating that must have been for the former subordinate to become his boss, but he got what he deserved. It seems Vanessa left the company prematurely after she and my husband got married. The house is still mortgaged. The ex-husband's salary must have dropped considerably after he was demoted. And most importantly, look, that's her. She is not a good woman for kicking Lisa out. The neighbors are giving Vanessa the cold shoulder. She's been fighting with Brian a lot lately, saying it wasn't supposed to be like this, and it's not what she expected. I don't care. It's a mistake to think that you can live happily after destroying someone's family. You should know that. The real world is not that easy. After my ex-father-in-law got out of the hospital, he said, I am ashamed to have such a stupid son. I don't want to see him ever again. So, they sold the house and moved into a senior care facility together. Even without this incident, they had been talking about it for a while and had decided to apply for it. We never intended for you to have to take care of us. Thank you for being so good to us, Lisa. My ex-mother-in-law told me that. I still go visit them with my daughter Ava twice a month. We are going on a one-day trip with permission to go out of town. Even though Brian and I were divorced, they are still very important to me. And as for me, although there is some sum of money for alimony, I am 35 years old with almost no social experience. What on earth can I do? And then my daughter Ava asked me things I was good at. Well, housework, I answered with a laugh. That's perfect, she replied with a straight face. With a puzzled look on my face, my daughter told me that there was a profession called housekeeping. This seemed to be my calling. Although I was only cleaning and cooking, my clients were very grateful. My ex-husband would thank me for taking care of in-laws. But when it was just my husband and I, he never thanked me for anything because he took it for granted. I love my job. Last month, I was nominated for first place and won the MVP award. Ava is working hard too. Before I realize, she has improved her cleaning and cooking skills. The other day, she made my favorite omelet. She buys the same seasonings and ingredients as mine to make it taste just like mine. I love my daughter who talks with a little shyness. I hugged her tightly and said, "Thank you." Now that my income is increasing, we are planning to move to a bigger apartment next month. Recently, my daughter and I have been making rounds of real estate agencies on our days off. What do you want for dinner? Whatever you want, Mom. It's on me today. I wondered what was going to happen, but it looks like life is going to be a lot of fun from now on.
My name is Anna. I was a 33-year-old housewife then. I had been married for a year, but I hadn't conceived. My husband Sean loved kids, and he'd been very excited about having his own from the beginning. But the storks never can. Sean grew impatient and told me to see a doctor. I went to see OBGYN, and after I had many tests done, my doctor concluded there was nothing wrong with me. Just as I was relieved, Sean declared, "I'm sorry, but divorce me." Why? There's nothing wrong with me. I just want a child as soon as possible. Who knows when you will conceive if I stay with you? I was speechless. It's only been a year since we got married. I've already proven that I'm fertile. Why can't you wait a bit longer? You're already 33. You'll be too old while I wait. Wait, you're already old. I want my child to have a young, beautiful mother. What did he mean by that? Did he think his wife was a thing or something? His remarks stopped deep in my chest. I still loved Sean. I tried hard to persuade him not to divorce me, but he was adamant. We parted after only 1 year. I was so heartbroken and depressed that I couldn't think about anything else. As the months passed, I began to see his true color. He didn't love me as much as I thought he did. He really thought I was just a tool to have kids. I was convinced of it 2 years later. My friend Christy told me that he had a shotgun marriage with his new girlfriend. Christy and I were best friends since college. She happened to work in the same company as Sean, so she was a mutual friend of both of us. She was very easygoing and popular with everyone. Sean took an advantage of it and consulted anything to her. He was apparently seeing his new wife when you guys were still married. What? That means he was cheating on me. Right. He blamed you for not getting pregnant while he was fooling around outside his marriage. She banged a cup of coffee on the table and gave me a serious stare. Don't waste your time being sad about him. Find a new guy. I finally moved on after this. A year later, I got married again. I had been part-timing at a call center after the divorce and met Peter, who was 2 years older. After a half year of dating, he proposed to me. I'm very happy, but... Am I not the one for you? No, it's not you. I might have trouble conceiving. What do you mean? I told him in detail about how my ex and I got divorced. That's all? He laughed it off. Didn't the doctor confirm that nothing was wrong with you? Besides, conception is something the couple has to work together. Don't think of it as it's all your responsibility. I tear up at his comments. Even if we weren't fortunate, we just live our own life together. I will never forget his warmth when he held me in his arms as he said this. I was really happy in my new marriage life. He initiated doing housework and got things done around the house. Maybe because I was single for a long time, but it led me to you, so thank God for that. He said with a shy smile, which was so cute. He was good at Italian cooking too, and often cooked for me. Sean had never done any housework, and I believed all men were like him, so it was a nice surprise. I must have been really fulfilled. I found out I was pregnant 6 months after our marriage. During a routine checkup, the doctor said, "Congratulations!" I returned home in disbelief and gave the news to Peter. Seriously? Hooray! He picked me up by the waist in his excitement. Hey, put me down. Sorry. Too much for the baby. He immediately put me down and stroked my stomach. I'm happy that you're excited. Of course, it's ours. I saw him trying to hold his tears and I almost cried. It's thanks to you. I feel so peaceful with you. I think that's why I was able to conceive. Take good care. Don't push yourself too hard. I know. The next 9 months were like a dream. I hardly got morning sickness, and as soon as I got to the second trimester, I went shopping with Peter. It was so much fun to look through and get ready for the baby. One day, I received a call from Sean a week before my due day. I contemplated for a second and answered the phone. Hello? Hey Anna, it's me. Yeah, it's been a while. I heard from Christy that you're having a baby, is it true? Yeah, it is. Why? Because I thought you couldn't get pregnant. What the heck was he talking about after all this time? I was lost for words. I guess I should have been a bit more patient. He made an unbearable joke. Are you kidding me? By the way, how's it going with your new wife? What are you talking about? He played dumb. Doesn't matter. It's none of my business anyway. Bye. I hung up on him with a callous tone of voice. I wondered what the purpose of his call was. I told Peter when he got home from work. I didn't divorce him out of hatred, but it's creepy for him to call after all this time. Maybe he had a fight with his wife and wanted to vent on you. He didn't sound like that. He even made a rude remark that he should have been more patient. Maybe he wanted to congratulate you. Of course not. You're so naive. He chuckled, and I thought he was such a good-natured guy. Seeing him like that, I felt foolish to be upset and changed the subject to the baby. It's a girl. My doctor revealed this to me the other day. We discussed her name again. His face brightened with joy. I can't wait to meet her. Soon, exactly after 1 week, the baby was born. We named her Valentina, which means healthy and strong. When Peter held her in his arm, she cried and thanked me over and over. After I was discharged, I spent my days struggling to raise my baby. Of course, Peter was very helpful, but there were many things we weren't sure of and felt miserably. I wish our reliable parents were here at times like this. Oh well, both our parents live far away. Why don't you go back home with Valentina for a bit? No worry, it doesn't matter how hard it is. I want to stay here with you and her. We were exhausted after many sleepless nights of crying, but just looking at Valentina's face soothed me. 3 months passed, and by the time she was on a 50-50 split of milk and formula, we were finally able to sleep better. Then one day, Christy came over with a baby gift. Oh my God, so adorable! She exclaimed in a whisper when she saw Valentina sleeping in her cot. Congratulations, Anna! Thank you. I'm so glad you came. I wanted to come sooner, sorry. Doesn't matter, you're very busy at work. I'm just glad you finally got to meet her. We sat down with cakes she brought and coffee. Valentina was the main topic of our conversation at first. After I poured the second cup of coffee, Christy switched the subject. I know it's not the best time to tell you this as you're in the happiest place, but will you listen to me? What's wrong? Well, it's about Sean. He had a baby right away with his current wife, so he believed that you were the problem. I expected that. But when he found out you were pregnant, he changed his mind and started saying it may have been him with the problem. Way too late now, and I wondered if his head was okay. He does have a child, doesn't he? So what's the problem? He is an idiot. He is determined that it isn't his and accuses his wife of cheating. She looked disgusted. What in the world? That's over the top, don't you think? When he mentioned it, I really thought he was a true idiot. So, was he really serious? Yeah, he seemed. Even so, she consoled him. You know what he said to me then? Once a cheater, always a cheater. I can't trust her anymore. Say too. He should have looked at himself in the mirror before commenting. Both of us were appalled. His wife was furious and went back to her parents after a big fight. I can't blame her. He was lost and whining about what to do, but I yelled at him it was none of my business. I laughed at my imagination of him being flustered then. Anyway, he is going through turmoil, so I worry that he might bother you. No worries. I got nothing to do with him anymore. I know, but he is illogical right now. I appreciated her concern and was reminded of her kindness. I will block him on my phone. That's better. I'll make sure he doesn't bother you again. We heard a cry from Valentina, who woke up from her slumber then. I picked her up in my arms. Christy asked to hold her with her arms stretched towards me. While we were cooing over the baby, I completely forgot about Sean. A month passed, and I kept busy taking care of Valentina. Sean had never contacted me. But then, his wife suddenly showed up with her child at the door. She got my address from Sean's mother. I informed them in case they needed me for anything. The wife of Sean was called Susan. She looked young, probably in her 20s, and was very pretty with big striking eyes. Her son, Tate, was almost 2 years old and looked exactly like his mom. While we sat down on the sofa, Tate played with Valentina on the floor. I'm very sorry for showing up like this. I have been wanting to apologize to you. Susan started the conversation first. Apologize? That's right. I had no idea Sean was married when we were dating. But then I felt guilty after what happened. I was perplexed and didn't want her to mention it after all this time. You came all the way to apologize to me? No, we decided to get divorced. What? You and Sean? Yes. It's not your concern, but I want to talk to you, so I showed up. She started pouring out her frustrations. Her story was indeed shocking. Sean scolded and yelled obscenities at me, so I showed him the proof of paternity with the DNA test. Then, wasn't the problem solved? Not at all. He used to call me dirty and said he married me only to have a child. He degraded me until the result came out. As soon as he was assured, he said, "Oh good, now we can have another child without worry." He turned 180 degrees. Can you believe it? She wasn't finished with her ranting. I, for sure, was a mistress, but that's because he lied to me. She banged the table. Calm down. Don't frighten the children. I'm sorry. She snapped out of her rage and hung her head down. So, you decided to divorce him? Right. He thinks women are tools to make babies. It doesn't need to be me. I understood her so well. That was exactly how I felt back then. If you asked me if I felt hatred towards her, it may slightly be true. However, the children are innocent. I looked at them playing happily and felt some pity for them. Fortunately, Sean's parents are on my side. They are astounded by his foolishness and even banned him from their house. They've always been good people. I agree. I have no idea how the song like that came out of them. We looked at each other and laughed. He is demanding custody, but I would never allow that. If he continues to argue, his parents tell me to get an attorney. And what are you going to do from now? I'll move back with my parents and look for a job. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much. I thought you might understand me, so I came to see you. Also, I'm worried that the idiot might stop bothering you. Please, Watch out! I had lost the resentment towards her for our strange bond. We both don't have a knack for choosing men. I don't think so. You found a wonderful husband in the end. You still have a long way to go. She was all smiling when she left. I assumed we'd never meet again and wished for her happiness. A month later, Christy called and updated me that Susan and Sean's divorce was finalized. I changed my number so that I was never bothered by Sean. However, he was still telling people that it was my infertility that caused the problem back then. What a small guy. He keeps saying if you became pregnant sooner, there wouldn't have been any trouble. Christy was outraged over the phone. I was so fed up with him that I gave in an ultimatum in front of everyone. What did you do? I transferred him to a smaller branch. In fact, she was Sean's boss. She was excellent and had risen to the rank of department head. Isn't that abuse of authority? The enemy of women is the enemy of society. As she laughed out loud, I murmured the end for Sean. There's nothing wrong with wanting children, but if a man treats a woman like a tool to get what he wants, he has no right to exist in this world. Pitiful Sean is reprimanded by his wife and his boss, but he supposedly continues his disdain for women. Even at his new office, he's paying the price for getting involved with someone. There's no medicine to cure a fool. Maybe I'll curse him to have his private part chopped off.